I've got huge college football 26 news for you. We're talking big features, big changes, and some things you'll love, along with some things that EA Sports maybe doesn't seem to be talking about right now, but let's dive into it. I'll be covering Dynasty, Road to Glory, and other modes here in a second, but let's dive into gameplay first. Did you also know that 65% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed yet? If you enjoy this massive breakdown of college football 26, I would love for you to subscribe and get me just that much closer to my goal of 300,000 subscribers. Now, we've all been waiting for what feels like forever for college football 26 news, and we're finally getting our insight into what gameplay is going to be. I think what's good here is that EA's talking about they want their college football experience to be kind of wide open, fast-paced, and kind of have the foundational football features that we've known to love. They do talk about having some interesting things here like stunts and twists, custom zones, improved blocking and coverage logic, but I think if you've played a sports game at all, you know that there's always talk of that stuff, but really just playing is going to let you know if it's working the way that it should or not should be working. We do get some nice anecdotes here that there's over 2,700 new plays in the game, and they have unique schemes like Rice's modern option and Penn State's gadget-heavy, system they have. There's also 10,000 plus players and over 300 real-world coaches with true-to-life schemes. I think that's really interesting, the fact that we, one, have coaches finally confirmed, even though we saw them on the league cover art. But now that we have true-to-life schemes for them, I think that's going to be a big win. Now, EA mentioned specifically suit up for Dan Lanning, compete against Kirby Smart, recruit as or against James Franklin. You can kind of go toe-to-toe with current coaches who bring distinctive playstyles to the field. But the interesting thing here is they mentioned 300 real-world coaches. Well, if you do the math, there's a little over 100 some college football teams in Division I. That means that we're getting assistant coaches for offensive and defensive coordinators, if I had to imagine. Now, I would not expect every single OC and DC to actually be available, or maybe they went deeper into their dynasty systems with coaches, I don't know, but I would expect at least a good portion of some of the high-profile OCs and DCs to be in the game. This is also going to make the coaching carousel just infinitely better, but we'll talk about that later. Next up, they talk about wear and tear, which for me was my favorite system. Was it perfect? No, but I think wear and tear is going to be a fantastic addition to football games going forward. The interesting thing to me here is they say the advanced wear and tear system delivers more realism and is now fully customizable to fit your play style. Manage fatigue strategically and save your favorite playmakers for key moments with dynamic subs that allow you to rotate players in and out on the fly, no pause screen needed. We have desperately needed that in just football games in general, but having it with this game that has wear and tear is huge. But to me, when I read that they now have the section saying fully customizable to fit your play style, I got a couple of questions here. Is that something that we're doing as a coach to set how we want our players to be subbed in and out a little bit more strategically? Is there a slider set available to us to actually tweak how much wear and tear is impacted? There's a lot of questions here, but I like where they're going. Next up, they talk about foundational football advancements. And if there's one thing I really loved about college football 25, I feel like the core gameplay was good. I felt like while there were some issues with zones and some other issues here on, we know the spin move and some other things that were kind of broken. What they ultimately got the game to be was a very good, very fun football game that I played longer than really any other football game I played in the past decade. But specifically, they mention here they have improved coverage to give you confidence in shutting down your opponent and improved blocking to reward players' left stick skills between the tackles. That is interesting to me. It feels like you got the ability to kind of steer things a little bit more. And look, again, proof is in the pudding. When we actually play, we'll see if these things are actually lip service or things they've actually done truly. But this next section is gonna give me a little bit of pause here. They say feel the changes to our upgraded physics-based tackling system with new tackle types and enhancements to the hit stick. This could be a lot of different things. One thing that I, thought was going to be pretty solid in Madden 25 was the, boom tech system they ended up putting out, which was not very good. And I think the idea behind boom tech is fantastic, but the execution behind boom tech was one of the worst executed features Madden has had in a while. And knowing that college football will obviously do their own thing when they want to, but we saw that Madden piggybacked off some things that college football did last year. Part of me is wondering, is this boom tech just repackaged in a different way? Now, if we're getting the same implementation of boom tech that we had in Madden 25, I am beyond scared because that's not going to be great. But if they are actually finding ways to make boom tech do what it was supposed to do and what they said it was going to do, then I'm interested. But I am cautiously optimistic here. They go on to say experience greater control on both sides of the ball with the ability to call different stunts and twists to optimize your pass rush. That is fantastic feature in my opinion. And then new custom zones feature to really dial in your coverage at the line of scrimmage. To me, with the ability to have custom stems on offense, custom zones seems just to be a logical step forward for them. And they do also tease we have several new abilities coming to the game, but again, we gotta wait till later this summer for that. Home Field Advantage 2.0 is something that I'm excited about. I think their Home Field Advantage system in CFB 25 was pretty good, and I honestly liked it. It was way better than the momentum system that Madden had for a lot of years. And this year they're talking about bringing enhanced stadium pulse effects, a more intense camera shake, which, you know, be careful out there, new heads-up display visuals, and a clock distortion that simulates the high pressure of playing as a visitor in hostile territory. Whoa. They go on to mention specifically rivalry games, college football playoff, and other high-stakes matchups are now even more affected by stadium pulse. So if you're on the road, your confidence, your composure, how you actually play, you're gonna need to dial it in a lot more, it seems like. Now, a few weeks back, there was the tease of sort of a Metallica and EA Sports sort of collaboration for a contest, and I think that was cool, but 99% of gamers were really just like, that means Enter the Sandman's coming to College Football 26. And EA kind of hits on this a little bit here as they talk about game day atmospheres with more electrifying sounds and traditions than ever before, feel the energy of new situations and stadium-specific music, fight songs, and dynamic commentary. There is also a mention of a new presentation that reflects the importance of each game in the context of your season. So saddle up in Stillwater, hoist the golden egg, raise the sword as the king of turnovers at Coastal Carolina. They've talked a lot about authentic and unrivaled school spirit, and I will give them credit because what they did in College Football 25 was a fantastic first step, and I imagine they're going to build on that strongly. And then we do get a confirmation of, again, Enter the Sandman here. They talk about with new PA tracks, including Metallica's Enter the Sandman, 160 new school-specific chants, new mascots, and band music. And if there was one thing that people always talked about that they hated, it seemed like in unison, was that we just had drum lines constantly on the menu the entire year. They do kind of lean into it and mention that they're going to change it up for College Football 26. We're getting new marching band covers of popular songs for their menus, and we're also going to get 15 fight songs from schools around the country. So this, to me, is a good step forward. Speaking of things that people talked about a lot, the broadcast and commentary section is one that I was excited to read about. They're talking a lot here about dynamic commentary tailored by Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, Jesse Palmer, David Pollock, Desmond Howard, and Reese Davis as you kind of make history on the field. I think that was something that a lot of us were frustrated in, is that whether you threw for a big, passing touchdown, or sometimes just the contextual sort of awareness of the commentary really didn't feel like it was there. EA specifically mentions that if you're battling back after a tough loss or back-to-back 400-yard performances, their expertise and insight is going to adapt to your team's progress in Dynasty and your players' rise and road to glory, which again, that's what we've been missing, the ability to have the commentary help tell the story of what we're doing. Something that I'm beyond hyped about, and I think a lot of you should be as well, they say, show off your championship. We heard your feedback, and thanks to you, the trophy room is back. Now we can finally show off a lot of things, and there's a variety of ways you can actually earn these trophies and display them. So coach and manage your program in Dynasty mode, focus on your journey as a college football legend in Road to Glory, dominate online in the road to the college football playoffs, or compete in classic rivalry games in Play Now. It is so good to have the trophy room back to show off our championships. And speaking of championships, the NBA playoffs are here, and Underdog is the place to play if you're a fan of looking to cash in on all of your favorite players' performances. Underdog just released a brand new game called Ladders, and all you gotta do is simply pick between 3 to 5 players that you think are gonna have a big game in them that night. So your payout will jump for each level hit by every player. If you predict who goes off correctly, you could take home up to 100 times your money in one night. Use code GGB and try out Ladders by joining Underdog today. I've made it easy for you with a quick link in the description, and they'll give you up to $1,000 in bonus credits and a free pick when you use code GGB. Now, obviously, talking about Trophy Room gets a lot of us excited, but let's talk about some of the other things they hit on too, like Dynasty mode. The blurb they put out says, how you create your dynasty will now be more important than ever if you want to cement your legacy as one of the best coaches. Assemble an elite staff, upgrade your coaching abilities, and then lay it all out on the field. And that seems, simple enough, and it kind of aligns to the coaching thing that we mentioned. But the next part is what I'm excited about. Navigate the now expanded and more unpredictable transfer portal featuring thousands of players each year. Can I get an amen out there? The transfer portal in maybe the first season of your dynasty was like, okay, but after that, it was lay doo-doo, as the French say. Personnel management has also never been more important, in their words, with new location-based visits having the potential to give your program an advantage in recruiting. That has me all types of excited. And even more excited is that you can land critical talent for your team by managing new dynamic deal breakers and traits while trying to retain your favorite playmakers and cement your program's legacy. This has me all kinds of excited. If you've listened to a lot of my videos or been on my twitch.tv/goodgamebro streams, I have talked a lot about the need for dynamic deal breakers and how they should be adjusting that system, and this sounds like they're taking the step in the right direction. Equally important for Dynasty mode is that we are getting crossplay. So now, College Football 26 now lets you have crossplay between your Xbox X or Series S and X and PlayStation 5. The Dynasty is still only going to be a 32-person online Dynasty, but no matter what platform your friend are on, if they're in an Xbox Series S or X or PS5, you can all play in the same Dynasty together. You can also turn off crossplay in the Dynasty if you don't want it to be a part of it too. And two other big features they mentioned for Dynasty mode fans: formation subs are back. Protected opponent settings are coming. So we are finally getting two big things that we have desperately wanted. The one thing we're not seeing here though is the ability to export draft classes. Now it is entirely possible that they're going to give us a whole lot of information when they do a Dynasty deep dive later this summer, but I was kind of hoping they would just kind of address the elephant in the room and give us that information right now. We don't know if they're doing it maybe, or if they're not doing it, but whatever they decide, it's going to be a hot topic later this year. We can move on to Road to Glory, and yes, if you've been living under a rock, you can go from high school to college, and then if you want to go to Madden and the NFL, you can absolutely do that. Something interesting to note is that they mentioned that you have 10 new archetypes to choose from. If I remember correctly, with college football, it was about 3 to 4 on College Football 25. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me, if I'm correct or not. But again, we get 10 new archetypes. We can go from high school to Heisman hopeful, hopefully at that point, and then move on to the NFL if we so choose. What's also fantastic is that we get confirmation that we are going to have the hat ceremony. If you know anything about football for college football decisions, it is a big moment when a player gets to choose that hat on the table or put that hat on their head. We are going to have the ability to do that in Road to Glory. Additionally, they mentioned you can rise in class rankings and secure scholarships before other recruits. You also have a new tier of abilities available to reach for your athlete. You can earn coach trust. Hopefully the coach trust system is much better because it was not very great last year. Build team chemistry and navigate the competitive recruiting process. If you commit early, if you found the perfect fit, that's great. Or you can decommit if a better opportunity comes your way. That to me is absolutely incredible. Being able to be a high school player, maybe commit early if you find an offer, but then if Alabama or Miami or your dream school comes along, you could decommit and go somewhere else. We'll see what the pros and cons of that are though. Now, those are the modes that EA hits on probably the heaviest. They do mention College Football Ultimate Team, obviously returning. They don't really give us too much information on that, as you can kind of see by what we're showing on the screen. They also mentioned Road to the College Football Playoff is coming back. And again, I think this is one of the best versions of head-to-head online play we've had. I just hope they make it so that whatever team you choose, you have to keep their playbook, because that made it seem like the most balanced version of head-to-head online that we've had in a while. An interesting note though is they mentioned a new progression system for the Road to the College Football Playoff. So I'm excited to see what that ultimately is, but I am glad to see that they are kind of addressing where it was last year, because if you hit Heisman or All-American, you were playing the cheesiest players of all time and you were just kind of stuck in this weird limbo portion. I'm anxious to see what they do. And the last mode they hit on here is Team Builder, one of my favorites, and they say, don't worry, College Football 25 fans, you will be able to import your custom teams from last year seamlessly, ensuring your favorite creative teams can be brought over. This is music to my ears because I spent a lot of time on the Cascade Valley Coyotes, and being able to easily have them back into College Football 26 without having to really do anything at all is great news. They do mention though, we have new features in Team Builder allowing you to refine your team's details and explore enhanced roster editing options. Thank God. Having to do a generic roster and then go into the game and edit each player's name, that was for the birds. Doing all that stuff there. So hopefully we can do full name editing of these players on our Team Builder teams, along with their equipment, along with their, numbers and attributes and all those things. That would be fantastic. So for the first breakdown of what we have for College Football 26, I think this is mostly positive here. My biggest takeaway here is that we don't get any mention of import-export for draft classes, but I like that they're talking about a lot of the gameplay additions, and they're talking about defense and offense. I am a little bit worried about what they're doing here with this sort of physics-based tackling system. Is it boom tech? If it is boom tech much better? If it's not, is it going to have the same issues that kind of boom tech had with Madden 25? Probably my biggest worry right now would be that. But seeing things like dynamic substitutions, formation subs, the trophy case or the trophy room coming back, then expanding upon home field advantage, diving deep into gameplay, a lot of the pageantry stuff is here, making broadcast and commentary much better. I think there's some good positives to go with. And again, one of my favorite things they talked about here was the dynamic deal breakers and traits. The recruiting needed to be better. The transfer portal needed to be leaps and bounds better. And it sounds like they were listening. So from what you've heard today in terms of things coming to College Football 26, what are you the most hyped about and what are you the least hyped about? And what are you honestly scared about? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, when College Football 26 news breaks, I will be your guy to cover it. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.